Instead of clicking on seeing for this thing, I clicked the wrong thing. But anyway, if you're looking to make money online, passive income, master the resale rights, 2-hour workday. The next 90-day challenge is coming up for you guys. Looking to end this year at a bang. End this year strong with a strong finish. Worried about finances, worried about time freedom. This is the opportunity for you. This video is just an awareness of how, not following your passions, pursuing your dreams. You get caught up in building others. And the thing about that is, these people scenes of the mindset of these people who use people just to advance. These companies, these can be you at your situation, anybody, a loved one. Just pray that, people have this opportunity to escape the rat race. But check this out. Let's get back into it.
Cardiac arrest. On the 911 call, a manager could be heard telling another worker to get back to work. Redditors claim this is a regular occurrence. On the Amazon, people chimed in with their own.
Associate worked with KBS cleaning team. Male. Name is currently being kept under closed watch. The associate was said to have died from COVID or a heart attack. Associate died within the facility 5 hours into work. Wow. Managers in KBS did not find the associate until 2 hours before end of shift, waiting on updates. This was 4 years ago.
Experiences. Someone died at my fulfillment center and work didn't stop. They just put a slippery floor sign next to the body. Yep, that's what they did at my location too.
So, I mean, I could kind of contest to this. I never worked for Amazon, but I did work for a company in Marcellus, Michigan. And they was offering overtime, whatever, like trying to make us feel good about overworking ourselves. And this was the first snowstorm of the year. Rest in peace to two of my dear friends, Jalen and Kylie. They were overworked, tired, and on their way home and passed away tragically. It was hard. I was at work, and this is the first, well, not the first time, but this one of times that I've kind of seen somebody seeing death call. It's a weird moment in time, nevertheless. And some of my spirit was telling him, like, what to. So this is what happened. Me and Jalen, we had a disagreement. I was being trained by him on his shift to go work another shift. It wasn't my doing. It was just how I got into the company. They put me on one shift to train to work another shift. It is what it is. And that's what they had going on. And I wish I could have worked their shift, but it's not my company. It's not my call. I'm just here to make the money, right? Anyway, whatever, right? One day we're leaving, and we're exchanging, crossing paths, exchanging shifts. One shift coming in, one shift leaving. But when this happens, everybody usually in the break room, either signing in or waiting on the ride to get out, or what I'm saying, unwinding a bit, digressing a bit from their labor, and just getting ready to transition to another part of their day. We was in this room talking shit, whatever, whatever. And then this girl, Kylie, she was like, "Yeah, Aaron, cool, leave him alone, whatever." And she was telling me like, they just playing whatever, whatever. I forget what the situation was. We kind of didn't speak. We was like, whatever, whatever. But before he left, he was sitting at the doorway of the warehouse on some boxes, and the only light coming in was from a tall warehouse window shining directly in on him. It was like what I read a passage in the Bible about Stephen and Elijah. When Stephen was being killed, which was Elijah's protege, a light of rays, sunlight rays came down shining on him. He was looking to heaven and he had a moment. And when I looked at Jalen, it was like everything was paused in a moment. I just was sitting there looking at him like, wow, this is something to see. You know, like I wonder what he's seeing in those clouds, because he was looking out the window at that ray of light that was shining in on him. And he was kind of like frozen. He looked like he was at peace. And I was just like, it was like a spiritual message to me. Like either you say something now or forever hold your peace. He died a few hours after that. And they was telling us at work, people was calling who worked this shift, like, yeah, he was in an accident or whatever. I'm calling to see if he alright at the hospital or whatever. Then they calling me back like, oh, he ain't answering because he passed away. Then I'm like, well, okay. I guess I'll not call him no more. And then I was like, well, I guess this is real. I don't know. You know, it was crazy, but nevertheless, they keep on. We'll pay for his funeral, but come on after work after that. And I was like, wow, where's the respect for this man and his girl? The both of them, they died together. They was boyfriend and girlfriend. And I was like, damn, you know, I really can't honor this system. You can't have one moment of, you know, transitioning, one moment of processing what just happened, a person we just lost. And it was a small little warehouse, you know, and you think that they will have some compassion and empathy for somebody that's doing this overtime and all this. And you're trying to meet your quotas, you're trying to impress other, whatever the fuck, right? And it's like work must go on. And I saw that, and I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. That was a whole nother company. This is Amazon, and they getting down similar year after year. I'm not sure what else happened at that job. I don't really care, but I'm not there anymore. But with this, and in many other companies, they're the same way. But you can have your own, you know, it's the opportunities here. The let me put this down there if it works. Anyway, you just type in Team Angie LLC, join my email list, and get your free blueprint copy. We starting a 90-day challenge. So yeah, y'all make sure y'all wanna go ahead and be a part of this. About to take off really soon. This will be a fresh start for some of you who have no idea what passive income is or just want to get started with live mentor.
And further in those comments, one employee talked about yet another death at their center. From what I gathered, it was a member of the maintenance team, and he was found in the bathroom on the 3rd floor.
Build a website you love with Wix, where your
I can't back to work without so much as making a statement or addressing what was going on. But the problem isn't just how Amazon responds to deaths on the job, its place. In the same warehouse of that previous 911 call, another death occurred a few months later in September of 2019 when 48-year-old Billy Foister checked into the warehouse's medical clinic, Amcare. These facilities are staffed by on-site medical representatives, or OMRs, who are supposed to be trained EMTs. Billy came to them complaining of headaches and chest pains. Chest pains are never something that should be ignored, by the way, and you should seek medical help right away. Amcare checked his blood pressure, said he was dehydrated, gave him a week later while on the job. He suffered a heart attack, and it took a whole 20 minutes until someone found him. They tried to administer CPR, but by the time he got to the hospital, he was pronounced dead. And this is unfortunately all too common. Medical concerns being brought to Amcare don't always end with death, but the seriousness of the problems are often ignored. It's why a lot of people complain about Amcare. Like on Reddit, the main complaint seems to be that Amcare is quick to give employees a clean bill of health even if their injury or symptoms are severe while on the job. They iced it and told me it was a sprain and sent me back to work. I was in so much pain, but they literally were like, "Sprains hurt, you'll be fine." So I went back upstairs and finished my 12-hour shift. I even asked them if I could go home because it hurt too bad, and they said I could, but that I'd have to use my own UPT/PTO. They stayed home the next 2 days because of the pain and struggled to get any workers' compensation. In the end, after finally seeing a doctor, they were told they had broken their foot. "They really don't care about us at all," they explained. Of course, that's Reddit, so it's hard to validate. Has investigated Amcare several times, and their findings only reinforce this worrying trend. At one warehouse, they issued a warning stating that Amazon's Amcare returned injured workers to their regular jobs, which resulted in health outcomes such as worsening of the injury, exacerbation of pain, and limited recovery from work-related injuries/illnesses. Then there's also Bobby Gosviner, an Amazon warehouse employee who spoke with CNBC for an expose on Amazon's injury rates. He described how one day the conveyor belt broke and led to a pileup of boxes that looked like it took 4 hours to clear. Because of the twisting and bending at the rapid pace that was expected of him, he got a pain in his back. When he told his manager, the manager tried to downplay it, saying it would take a lot of paperwork. His manager asked if he could take an Advil, put ice on it, and get back to work, which he did. But by the end of the day, he couldn't move his right arm, and he woke up with excruciating pain the next day. Turns out, Bobby had a herniated disc. He had to wear a brace and have a surgery to get a plate and 4 screws surgically inserted into his neck. He won money and benefits through workers' compensation. But injuries seem all too common at Amazon fulfillment centers, which reveal a deeper problem within the company's
Amazon, Walmart.
exploitative management tactics. In 2021, the Strategic Organizing Center, a coalition of labor unions, released a report about Amazon's epidemic of workplace injuries. They found that compared to Walmart warehouses, a company equal to them in size and scope, Amazon had more than twice the amount of injuries each year. Much has changed since 2020. Senator Bernie Sanders launched an investigation in 2023 and found that Amazon's injuries were 30% more than the industry average. And in the Strategic Organizing Center's report from 2024, when they conducted a survey of Amazon workers, 37% of them claimed management pressured them to work before they felt ready to do so. In fact, when compared to injured workers at other warehouses, injured Amazon workers take 52% less time off to heal. But there's a deeper problem with Amcare and Amazon policies as a whole. Employees are not allowed to call 911, and as you can imagine, this policy has deadly consequences. On January 18, 2013, Jeff Lockhart Jr. was a temporary worker for the Chester, Virginia Amazon Fulfillment Center who had collapsed during his night shift. While other temporary workers were let go after the holiday peak season in January, he was kept on, giving him hope for permanency, something he wanted. Amazon's internal report marked him as a consistently high performer. He was known for moving quickly up and down the aisles of the 18 football field-sized warehouse because of his speed and his size. At 6'3" and 300, he earned the nickname Tornado. Before he got the job in a few months and desperately needed a way to support his family of 3 children. 2 of these children were his wife's from a previous relationship, yet he adopted them and treated them the same as the one child they shared together. Because of the long hours he had been putting in, he and his family were going to meet after a shift for breakfast at Shoney's, a classic American restaurant. Unfortunately, he would never make it to that breakfast, found unconscious by an employee on the 3rd floor in aisle A215 under shelves of heating pads and Tupperware. The employee didn't call 911. This is the procedure according to Amazon brochures. They state, in the event of a medical emergency, contact security with "Do not call 911," all in red, underlined, and with an exclamation point. It goes on to state that security and/or Amcare will provide emergency response, which goes against standard CPR protocol. One of the first, Dr. Mikhail Varshavsky, better known as Dr. Mike on YouTube, states, "You're not actually saving someone's life by doing CPR, you're buying them time. So delaying the ambulance by even a second is extremely dangerous." But when Amcare is faced with an emergency, they may not be able to handle it. Many of them are EMTs. However, unlike the brochure might imply, they're limited in what they can do, as their hands are tied. As one Amcare worker explained in the Amazon FC subreddit, by law, because we lack a medical level, EMT or higher, and are instead restricted to first aid only. Another Amcare worker explained that one of the tricky parts is us not.
Now that just raised a red flag. Really, really concerning to me. This makes me think that these people are doing this on purpose, and probably this is for entertainment purposes. I just think probably maybe that in these contracts they're like insurance, putting in that person so they can double bubble if you die. Which sounds really, really crazy, but I wouldn't put it past them. Be careful what you signing into because these papers, I know how it is to get a job and you know, go over the paperwork, sign a lot of stuff just to get going, get the opportunity going, right? But it's like, wow, is this shit really worth it? Do they have this in their clause that they're signing you up for life insurance as well because they know they're gonna work you to death, and then once you're done producing in them physically, they can make more money off you passing AD, just like these entertainment industries, how they do with the artists.
Having great diagnostic tools. Even our blood pressure cuffs are
And
the
then a lot of these people quite older, like senior citizens, to be 65, 55, and working in these type of conditions, that's unhumane. I'm pretty sure they have positions that they can do, but wow, I don't see nothing cool about none of this.
cheap automatic ones, and I'm not even sure if the pressure dial is accurate. I don't even have access to bag valve masks or Narcan. A UK Amazon employee named Mary spoke to the Tribune about how the real reason for all this is that it may be part of a cover-up. She says that they're discouraged to call 999, the equivalent of 911 in the United States, explaining, they don't really want ambulances to come on site. Sometimes they will offer to pay for the taxi. They started doing it after there was something in the papers about Amazon calling too many ambulances at their site, likely referring to when The Guardian reported in 2018 that during the span of 3 years, UK Amazon warehouses called 600 ambulances. Mary also explained how a colleague of hers had signs of a stroke. She called her doctor, who said she would need to go to the hospital. The colleague told Amcare, and they said they wouldn't call an ambulance, and she would have to go on her own, all to keep their ambulance numbers down. So, when our temporary worker, Jeff, was found unconscious at 2:30 a.m., it took a whole 9 minutes for them to finally decide to call 911. It took paramedics a total of 20 minutes from the moment that Jeff collapsed for them to reach him. Even though Amcare provided CPR and used the defibrillator, unfortunately, Jeff didn't make it and passed away from an irregular heartbeat, according to the medical record. Meanwhile, his wife and children had been left with support themselves financially. Jeff's father went to Amazon he would do for their son's family, and
Their answer was, boy, get the fuck on, probably. So what you think the answer was? I mean, honestly. Honestly.
their response was, "We'll see what we can do." But it seems as though nothing was ever done for them, except for some cash his fellow employees were able to gather together for the family. And it's not the only death potentially caused by the 911 policy. In 2018,
That's crazy as fuck. You go to work to make money, but at the same time, you have a moral compass and sense to help this person, your coworker, because obviously who you're working for don't care about you or them. And it's a sad situation overall for you to have to go to work. Well, yeah, we did this as well, the old job. But at the same time, it's like that's not on the employees to be responsible like that. They're already going to work to have a job, to have some money, because we all need money, right? It's not cool for them to have to come out their pockets to pay for somebody who was doing the same thing as they're doing. But it's just crazy. It's sad. Like, wow, really?
21-year-old Mike Galask worked at a Murfreesboro, Tennessee fulfillment center. First, when he was found, security was informed as per the policy, but they struggled to find a communication device as cell phones weren't allowed. One security guard finally called 911, but then, for some reason, put 911 on hold to never return. Then, afterward, someone else called. According to ambulance records, it took 5 minutes for them to call cardiac arrest. Now, by this point in our investigation, perhaps you've been noticing a pattern that many of these deaths are related to heart conditions. Well, that may be because work-related stress is known to exacerbate or even cause cardiovascular diseases and irregular heartbeats. According to the CDC, work is linked to about 10 to 20% of disease deaths. They attribute it to 10 work-related factors, including long work hours, high performance demand, and low job control. Amazon warns new employees that the job will due to multiple
Mental health. In this case, is a place that's disturbing your mental health from their unhealthy conditions and environment. It's important, man, to be mindful. Mental health awareness. The people obviously have an illness that set up a program like this to cause destruction and chaos, destroying people's lives, corrupting. They're now traumatized of, even going out there to go get a job. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, for those left behind, it does something to them too. It corrupts their moral compass, like, you know, the way that they feel about the company, the way they feel about whatever may happen, because they're lost with no real answers and no real justice. She had that last guy, the co-workers, luckily that she probably even knew some of them or whatever, however it went, the father called. At the end of the day, the employers help their employee to have a little peace of mind and passing away. Kind of how I felt with the bird yesterday. It was breathing or whatnot. Some struck it. I don't know what happened, but it's like it deserves that much to have a peaceful burial and just to, leave this world in peace and respect it like that. This is the second time, 2 years, two birds. It was some weird happened to her, like somebody. I ain't gonna talk about it, but nevertheless, though, it's just doing right by people and things after they're gone from the services and efforts that they put into this as well.
dystopian management techniques, Amazon has purposely created one of the most stressful workplaces out there. To start with, Amazon uses a new style of invasive surveillance in order to optimize their workforce. They've installed a vast camera system in their warehouses, which use AI to track item scanner. From the scanners, they are given a task such as retrieving an item. When they pick the item, they scan it, and the scanner then records the time between scans. Once a task is done, you're immediately given a new task, and an anxiety-inducing countdown timer starts ticking down. This is all according to an expected rate. You see, management sets a rate for you, which can change day to day, even hour to hour, without warning. If you're picking boxes from the shelves, it may be as high as 80 boxes per hour. That's 45 seconds per box. If the countdown timer hits 0 before you're able to scan too much time off task, or TOT, and it will alert management. At one warehouse, an employee said that they only had 18 minutes a shift that they could be off task, and if they racked up too much TOT, they could be fired. A policy which has put many employees in deadly situations. Even bathroom breaks count towards your TOT. This means you're at a disadvantage if you need to go to the bathroom often, or if you're far from a bathroom in
Man, it was kind of weird. I don't know how that happened or what happened or whatever, but hey, that's why I always advocate for mental health awareness because just a headache within itself, especially if you have felonies like me, people don't really want to hire you. Then when you get jobs and they filled with bullshit, toxic work environments or, control tactics to keep you constantly moving, it's just ridiculous, dog. But let's get back into this, though.
Unemployment from outside official breaks to not hurt his rate. It makes me afraid, mentally and physically exhausted, said Hibek Mohammed. Workers have described the environments as Lord of the Flies-esque, where the weakest are picked off one by one. With a few mistakes, you could be terminated suddenly, with about 1 in 10 Amazon workers will get fired within the span of a year. If the Amazon automated system determines your productivity input. Amazon worker Danielle Olayiwola explained, "You're being exploited because they know you're a hard worker, and then once you break down, they're like, oh, well, we got a good 6 to 9 months out of you, you're out of here, and you're literally just used." This creates a constant low-grade panic that puts a physical and mental strain on workers every hour of the day, even during off hours. Hibek Mohammed added, "I feel, and a lot of workers they feel, even when they're sleeping, that they're docking to try and hit their rate because they're worried about, I don't know what I finished this week. Next week, if I hit the rate, if the rate will change. And managers are watching you and coming to you all the time. You feel like someone is watching you while you're sleeping." Emily Gwendelsberger, author of On the Clock, What Low-Wage Work Did to Me and How It Drives America Insane, also went undercover at Amazon. She explained, "It took my body 2 weeks to adjust to the agony of walking 15 miles a day and doing hundreds of squats. But as the physical stress got more manageable, the mental stress of being held to the problem. You can't slow down if you're tired or hurting." It's why some employees have shared stories about how they've broken down crying at work. Speed is the priority, so they can get packages out for 1 or 2 day shipping. This leads to stress and mistakes, which leads to injuries and death. And this problem extends out to their drivers as well, who use a navigation software called Dora or Rabbit. It both recommends and monitors routes for drivers, tracking their every turn. The software gives them a 30-minute lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. Must be delivered on time or face termination. When you're driving a delivery van, barreling down the road, the pressure to perform means there are a lot of mistakes and potential deaths involved. Like in August of 2022, a 2-year-old girl was playing outside in a parking lot when she was fatally hit by an Amazon driver trying to get their packages out on time. She was declared dead on the scene. It left the family grieving, unable to sleep at night, saying, "There are no words to describe the amount of pain." They wanted to sue Amazon, but they ran into an issue of liability while they were for Amazon. That's because as a means to extend Amazon's network and to keep their hands clean, Amazon has turned to outsourcing some of their deliveries to independent companies. They provide them with all the technology to monitor their drivers, provide routes, determine how many packages must be delivered in a day, and decide on what vans to use and how the drivers must.
Now, this is a way to use AI for corruption. Totally, totally corrupted. How can you not be accountable for something you created? Produce this type of mindset in the workers and create this hostile work environment on the road with the public. It's just something to think about. Just because we are able to create doesn't mean all our creations are for the good of humanity. This was a selfish creation. I mean, helpful it seems indeed, right? But the solution was simple. People will get their packages when the packages arrive. If you can't fly certain things out, they will have to wait. This microwave society has being patient is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. It's something to practice daily. But only if we exercise that opportunity when the opportunity comes. Get it quicker or allow it to manifest the way that it's supposed to in time, as all things has a process. But this here is unruly.
Stress. Then they leave it up to the company on how to maintain their workforce. As you might imagine, with Amazon being the majority or sometimes their sole client, these companies will do anything to keep the contract to deliver these packages. They take on the deadly Amazon mentality of optimization at all costs, without even realizing it.
My personality used to be busier than you until I met my AI assistant. See, I was all about working hard, but more.
They've been reported to have forced their work meals, urinate in bottles, speed to make deliveries, and not wear seatbelts to get out of the truck faster. This resulted in Vladimir Gray flew down the Chicago roads, trying to deliver all the packages in time for Christmas. Amazon Echo speakers were the hot item that year. They even sold out. However, in the Telesfora Escamilla, an 84-year-old grandmother who was walking at a crosswalk, he crushed her skull as she lay dying in a pool, leapt out of the van and screamed, "Oh my God." After police arrested, he tested negative for drugs and alcohol and was later charged reckless homicide, which he would be acquitted for in 2019. The delivery company, Impacts, and the driver, Amazon claimed no responsibility, as it technically wasn't their job. To BuzzFeed and ProPublica reporting on this and other fatalities drivers of Impacts and 2 other companies, Amazon dropped these companies, further distancing themselves from blame. As a result of losing these contracts, and 2,000 workers from these lost their jobs. One Amazon took to allegedly make things safer for the delivery drivers was to install an AI surveillance system. It's designed to make the drivers much safer on the road by capturing violations like texting to cars and not using your turn signal. In theory, this should make. The problem is, it tends to punish drivers for mistakes they didn't make. Like how one driver in Los Angeles kept getting violations for not maintaining a safe distance when he was constantly being cut off, or emissions. And even with the AI surveillance system, Amazon drivers are still causing deaths on the road. In November of 2024, an Amazon driver hit and killed a 79-year-old woman who was crossing the street. He fled the scene and allegedly continued delivering packages.
Wow.
One might assume it was due to the pressures of the job. While narcotics were found in the van, there's no report of him being under the influence at the time. In this case, surveillance didn't help make things safer, but perhaps that's not the ultimate goal of surveillance.
He's delivering drugs and packages. He's doing 2 jobs. That's why he kept it. But nevertheless, like, wow, really?
Like in the warehouses, it may just be another means to track their employees to make sure that is always the number one. It's not just one thing that contributes to these deaths. It's a culmination of practices and the stress-inducing environment. So, accountable for any of this? Well, not have anything to say about it. On September 24th, 59-year-old Philip Lee Terry was working a shift in an Amazon warehouse in Indiana, passed under the forks with a platform attached to it. That's when the 1,200-pound piece to him. It took 2 hours before someone found a pool dead. It's unclear why with all that surveillance he wasn't found until then. But regardless of why it took so long, OSHA Inspector John Stallone arrived the next day. He noticed that a pole that was designed to hold up the forklifts as per safety regulations wasn't used. I prop up the forks, or more ideally, never pass underneath them. The hydraulics can give out and the equipment on the forks can fall on you. Again, it's hard to speculate why Philip didn't follow regularly hard to meet rate while following all safety procedures. But on top of that, it was also discovered that there was no written record of Terry having received any formal training. So he may not have known what the safety procedures in a situation like this were. Inspector Stallone said that safety was second to production demands for Amazon. Due to the inadequate training, OSHA fined Amazon $28,000, a small fee for the $2.5 trillion company. Stallone did want to raise the fines, but got pushback, feeling something with conversations he had with his boss. So, because eventually his asked him to shift the blame from Amazon to the employee to lift the fine. This was in a recording he shared with Reveal, an independent news organization. His boss wanted to partner with Amazon to help them become a leader in safety. She went on to say that Terry was likely on drugs, even though the coroner said there was nothing but nicotary system. There wasn't for this, according to Stallone. Amazon was looking for a place to the finalist. Stallone had a meeting with NICE to get the headquarters of the investigation or resign. Shortly after, Stallone's supervisors said he was going to be terminated for job performance. Then he reached out to Reveal and provide the recordings, but sadly, nothing came out of the exposure. And a year later, with Stallone out of the way, Amazon signed a deal with OSHA to waive away all of the fines. And ready for the real kicker? In the end, Amazon didn't even choose Indianapolis for steeped in corruption with Amazon. The first death took place on July 13th, day of the Amazon Prime Day sales event. During the pandemic event, garnered $11.9 billion, an increase of 62.8% from the previous year's revenue of $7.31 billion. So one could assume the workers at the Carteret, New Jersey fulfillment center probably had their hands full. Raphael heat in his unconditioned workspace. Co-workers said he was pleading for fans, but he was told to work through it. Then he collapsed and passed away. Then, on July 24th, at the Robbinsville, New Jersey Amazon warehouse, Roger Boland fell off a ladder and hit his head, dying in hospital 3 days later. And on August 4th, at a delivery facility in Monroe, a man named Eric Vadinsky was hospitalized and died 4 days after, but not much more can be found about this incident. OSHA investigated the 3 deaths. They claimed that Raphael had a previous heart condition responsible, again, even though heat stroke is known to cause heart attacks. Then when OSHA investigated the second incident of Roger, who fell off a ladder, it's reported that OSHA was denied access to the room where the accident occurred, until a few weeks later once the heat had died down. They determined that he had died of a seizure, but the doctors noted that he had an extremely high body temperature, and he had died of a brain injury due to the fall. So it could be possible that he was affected by the heat wave somehow. But regardless, Amazon wasn't deemed responsible. For the third, not much information was released, but Amazon wasn't held responsible. What's more odd is that OSHA's reports are supposed to be made public after their conclusion, yet only the report for their first death was released, which is why Warehouse Life, an Amazon workers' rights group, filed a request under the Freedom of Information Act to release the other reports on August 14th of 2024. OSHA never responded, which
Anyway, the solution that I have for you guys is down below. You want to start products. I have 200 product ideas, whether you want to be faces or not. The blueprint, the strategies are all available, free for you to enjoy and check it out. Also, we're running a 90-day challenge if you want to be a part of that. Get a little momentum, live mentorship. All you have to do is take action today. Let your legacy start now. Let this 90-day challenge be encouraging, inspiring, and also beneficial to you in your online success, your online journey as an entrepreneur. For peace and blessing, mindfulness to awareness as well to what we sign up for, working for yourself. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to work through these crazy conditions. You don't have to neglect your mental health, your physical health. You're going to struggle just like you do with a job, but At the end of the day, it's all about self-development. You want to grow in many ways. You're going to thank yourself for giving yourself to fail, to learn. But if you want to learn from a team that's full of like-minded individuals who work for themselves but not by themselves, this opportunity is for you. Learn high-income earning skills with a 2-hour workday. Free blueprint available, 90-day challenge starting soon. See you there.